G'day there guys, it's Connie here again from Marquee Industries, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty, we're on relationships. This one was written by user Jahuni, and it's titled, I accidentally confessed how I feel to my coworker via drunk dial. I'm an intern at a law office. She's one of the paralegals. I initially kept it to myself, as most interns over there do. She approached me first, at the cafe across the street from our building. It was a light conversation. She said that she'd seen me in the office a few times, asked my name, what I think of the place, etc. Eventually we got to know each other, exchanged phone numbers, went out for lunch, in groups and just the two of us. I'm not an idiot. I realized there was no way she could ever see me as anything more than the intern she sometimes talks hockey and Game of Thrones with. We both speak Korean as well, so there's that. Sometimes we'll talk in Korean at work. Not full conversations, just a word or two here and there when we're trying to make an inside joke. She's an easygoing person, funny, smart, and considerate of everyone around her. To be honest, and I know this will sound like a lot of crap, but it was hard not to fall for her in some way. That said, I know she doesn't feel the same about me. I'm too young for her. She's casually mentioned that she wouldn't date anyone under 23. Makes sense. Although 5 years isn't a lot, it is in terms of adult life experience. I'm still in school, I have 2 roommates, my parents still pay for my phone. Compared to her, I'm a child. For that reason, I've tried my best to set aside the way I feel. I'm usually really good at it. But this weekend, I had a little too much to drink at my brother's wedding, and at the end of the night, I ended up calling her. It was late. The call went to voicemail. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I definitely used the word love at some point. This happened on Saturday night. She didn't say anything the next day. No call, no text, no email. Not that I expected it. I was just hoping we could get over the awkwardness of it via message instead of in person, Monday morning. I considered texting her myself and apologizing, but I'm immature and an idiot, so I ultimately didn't. The following Monday, I went into work expecting her to either pull me aside and say something or to ignore me completely. She did neither. In fact, she didn't show up to work at all that day. Apparently she was sick. A small part of me wondered if maybe she was avoiding me, but then I reminded myself that I'm not that important. On Tuesday, I saw her in the lobby. She walked right past me without saying anything and actively ignored me the rest of the day. She's done the same today for the most part. It's a miracle that she hasn't gone to HR. I'm still not sure what I said to her in the voicemail, beyond the love confession, or how. All I know is that she texted me a couple of hours ago, asking if we can talk after work, which brings me here. I agreed to meet her. I don't know what to expect. Beyond sorry, I don't know what to say. Honestly, I regret everything. I know I never had a chance with her, but to go out like this, that's embarrassing. What should I expect going into this? And would it be too much if I offered to leave my internship and find another, just to remove myself from her presence? I don't want to make her feel even more uncomfortable than I have. Sorry if this doesn't make sense. Yeah, I think the best OP can do is apologize and say everything he's thought of in this post. Let's go to the comments. I want to apologize for the voicemail that I left the other night. It was unprofessional and inappropriate, and I deeply regret it if it made you uncomfortable. Don't offer to leave your internship. Make it clear that you understand what you did wrong, apologize, and keep your head down for a while. Be an adult and own up to it. Apologize sincerely for clearly crossing the line with her. Express that you're willing to do what it takes to put the situation right. Don't offer to leave the internship, but offer to give her space, to never text or call her again, and not go to lunches with her. You can say how deeply embarrassed you are, and how it was a drunken lapse in judgment, and how you're growing up and want to learn to do better, and show her the respect she deserves from you. Explain you had a lapse in judgment and agree that you'll not mention it again. Then get back to work. Yeah, that seems like the obvious thing to do. OP updates the next day. Sorry for taking so long. I forgot my phone in my car. She and I talked for about an hour after work. Apparently her boyfriend, whom she's never mentioned before, overheard the voicemail when she was listening to it the morning after the wedding. He was understandably upset, seeing as some random guy was confessing to his girlfriend. They had a huge argument about it. He made a bunch of accusations, claiming that people don't fall in love out of nowhere, and some other things. Basically, he was saying that she was emotionally cheating with me, which is so far from the truth. She has only ever behaved appropriately with not just me, but everyone. She was upset, that's why she called in sick and avoided me for a couple of days, not because she was mad at me, but because of the argument and breakup that followed. I apologized profusely throughout the conversation. At one point, I offered to contact her boyfriend and tell him that it was a drunken, unprompted mistake, but she said that it's okay. The relationship had run its course. Maybe that was why she'd never mentioned him before. In any case, I feel really bad for the part I played. I didn't intend for any of this to happen. Surprisingly, she still wants to be friends. One comment says, "Oh gosh, please don't feel bad. It sounds like her boyfriend was a jerk and not good for her. If he didn't trust her and wasn't willing to hear her out, he didn't deserve her anyway. I would have been upset too, but I wouldn't accuse my partner of cheating. You seem like such a sweet person. If you and her don't fall in love and get married, kidding, there is someone amazing out there for you. I mean it. I can sense you're super kind-hearted, and the world needs more people like you. Of course, she still wants to be friends. You're awesome." One thing I noticed in your post is you kept saying things like, "Of course she wouldn't be into me." Well, stop that. Sure, lots of people set age limits and make lists of what they want. It doesn't mean that it's impossible for feelings to develop if you're a good person, funny and enjoyable to be around. Start thinking the opposite. If someone isn't into you, then it's not because you aren't amazing. I used to think that way too. You're too good for that. Thanks for the update. Opie says, "That's just my sense of humor, lol." Yeah, I mean, life lessons learned, right? But I think it's probably safe to keep his distance from her, at least for the foreseeable future. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you got a similar story you'd like to share. Either way, we're going to move on to another one. Alright, jumping over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "Am I the a-hole for requiring destination wedding guests to only book through our block and not their timeshare? We're having an all-inclusive destination wedding in 2023. Old post. Like most places, we're required to book a room block in advance. To qualify for discounts for guests, guaranteed rooms, and various other wedding package perks, we must book X amount of people through the room block we paid for in our contract. It turns out 2 of our guests have a timeshare through the resort, effectively slashing their reservation price by about 30% from the online price. Our package cuts it down maybe 10% at most. Weddings must be in demand. I wonder why. Without asking, they went ahead and booked their timeshare, only to tell us later. Then they shared their timeshare membership to 4 other guests, 6 total now, who are all booking reservations through the wholesale timeshare company. It's one of those multi-resort packages that costs a lump sum, and then once or twice per year the member gets heavily discounted vacations. We were okay planning around 2 guests, but now 6 guests are circumventing our wedding package that we paid for altogether. We are now somewhat worried about meeting our minimum guests booked through a package threshold in the contract to have the wedding, ceremony and rehearsal. Without the minimum guest threshold, we lose the rehearsal and ceremony. I'm sure we can ask for an exception and pay any extra fees out of pocket if it comes to it. We'll also probably fail to meet other tiers that would give our package the extra oomph we wanted to subsidize rooms and pass around upgrades to guests, bringing down the cost of the wedding as a whole for everyone coming. We can't guarantee any subsidization until we reach a tier that helps us towards that goal, so I don't want to dangle that carrot in front of their heads. We could tell them to book 3 nights, the required minimum through our package, through us, and then any other nights through their timeshare, but I'm tempted, for simplicity's sake, to tell them no altogether. They need to book through the wedding package to be a part of the wedding. Am I the a-hole? Edit, we don't save more money if more people book. We can just pass out more free rooms and upgrades, and other guest discounts, spa package discounts, free golf, etc. That's what I meant by bringing down costs of the wedding as a whole. Our package is a flat rate regardless of who books, so long as a minimum number of guests book through the block. If the minimum isn't met, we lose our private reception and dinner, but it doesn't cost us more. Second edit. Not verbatim, but I've gone ahead and told them congrats on the discount. We're happy that they're all able to attend. Make sure to keep in touch with a travel agent who is more familiar with the resort to make sure all goes smoothly. I do know transportation to and from the airport won't be provided outside the package, so make sure to ask your timeshare reps how they recommend tackling that. We hadn't planned ahead last time and ended up paying $60 each way. and that I'll ask if the resort needs to give you a specific coloured wristband or anything to indicate that you're part of the wedding so that you have no issues. Yeah, well, there you go. I was going to say, so their wedding guests have found a way to make it cheaper amongst themselves and she wants to take that away? Am I getting that right? One comment says, "You're the a-hole. It's not up to you where people stay, and especially not how they choose to pay for that stay." Opie replies, "It's all inclusive, so the ceremony, reception, rehearsal and etc. is all put on by the resort as part of the package. To do so in these places, they require a percentage of the guests must stay on site. Their rule, not my own." And edit, "Geez, I understand the downvotes for some of my replies, but this one is just informational. Goodness. Are you making the guests pay you for their rooms, or are you covering all expenses?" Opie replies, "We paid for the block wholesale. We pass savings down to guests, but we're not paying for all their rooms. Instead, we'd like to subsidise their rooms at a later date to help pay the room costs for guests. We live in a very cold climate and with family and friends all over the place, so it made more sense to us to have the wedding in a warm location and to put their plane ticket towards an area they would actually enjoy." You're the a-hole. Your guests are there to celebrate with you, not underwrite your wedding. The last destination wedding I went to, several guests did exactly this, and the bride and groom were just happy they came. If you try to force people to stay where you want, they might not come. Opie replies, "Did that resort not force the guests to stay on the resort where the ceremony is hosted? There's all kinds of clauses in all the resorts we looked at that said 80 to 90% of guests must stay on site. $120, $150 or $200 nights, cumulative through the wedding package, etc. If it really ended up not being an issue, I'll just forget about it. There's just so much damn fine print." Damn, quite the downvote for an honest question. You could try talking to your coordinator. We did a destination wedding. About 2/3 of the guests booked through us. The ones flying in from the other side of the country found a better deal with a local agent. We showed to our coordinator, and she was able to group everyone under the same event. So we got all the perks, private group dinners, music, champagne toasts, classic car, etc. Our guests were mostly older, so getting a ride in the classic car is still talked about 6 years later. Opie replies, "Thanks for the advice. I didn't know this was possible. Gonna shoot off an email to the coordinator now. Your wedding sounds like an absolute blast. At least some affirmation that destination isn't a horrible idea, lol." Someone adds, "Destination weddings are gross and rude." Well, makes sense when you have family all over the world. I would rather them travel somewhere warm than the very cold climate we live. Why spend all that money to go somewhere they definitely don't want to go versus a beach? Hey Bridezilla, you're the a-hole. First of all, a destination wedding basically screams to people, I don't really care if you can afford this or not. I don't give a crap how much vacation time you get from your job, or if you'd sacrifice a whole year because I am so entitled. And lastly, I'm going to insist you pay more and do it through my block because I get added benefits. Never mind that I also expect an expensive gift in addition to you having to shell out airfare, accommodations, possibly a new or different wardrobe, food and drinks, etc., and so on. You saddled people with a huge expense for the privilege of seeing you get married, and now you want to demand that they pay a higher rate. Bridezilla might be too kind." She replies, "Most of our family and friends live nowhere near our very cold climate. We'd rather have a wedding where guests would potentially get excited to go to, rather than coming to our frigid small town. We're not asking for gifts. We do not mind if guests cannot make it. In fact, we worried that having it in town would make guests feel more obligated to come. We're perfectly fine with a small wedding on the beach." But there's an implied gift requirement to everyone invited. That's what happens with weddings. Whether someone attends or not, they're supposed to send a gift. Essentially, all of civilized society knows this. So essentially, it breaks down to most people as this. I don't care if you come because you're obligated to send a gift, except now you don't even get a dinner and some wedding cake in exchange. Opie replies, "It says directly on our website that we do not have an online registry because we're not asking for gifts due to the big ask of having them fly and stay for a destination wedding. Unless they somehow avoid that part of the website, I would hope they know." Info, did the invite state they needed to book on your block? No, it did not, just some methods at their disposal to help them book. Yikes, no a-holes here. I feel like people are being too hard on OP and misinterpreting what they're saying. No a-holes here because wedding planning is stressful and honestly a scam, and you're just trying to see if the people in the timeshares will affect your contract. But also, the guests have a right to stay where they want and to save money while doing so. Overall, it's a sucky situation, but you seem like a nice person who's put in a lot of consideration towards what other people's wants and needs are, even though it's your wedding. I hope everything works out, and it's everything you want it to be. Opie replies, I appreciate the kind words. I definitely almost overreacted. Thank goodness I took a long time to reflect on what I was going to say to these guests, and I do feel terrible about that. I'll have to be more reflective in the future about each guest and the effort they're making just to attend this silly thing. These all-inclusives are a bit unusual with weddings and how the entire event works from start to finish. Lots of pages of details to look over. While it's my fault I signed something and not my guest's problem, I think my explanation of how this even works at these all-inclusives was poor and fell flat. I cannot tell you how many Am I the A-hole posts we get from people who wonder if they're the a-hole for not staying at the expensive resort that the soon-to-be married couple insists on. They are never the a-hole. The hotel is counting on you, pressuring your guests to stay there in order to make their profit. Do not risk damaging your relationship so they can make a buck. Your wedding will not be wonderful because you scored someone a free round of golf or a 50% discount on a massage. It will be wonderful because you and your spouse-to-be love each other and will be surrounded by your friends and family celebrating your love, no matter how they choose to come or where they stay. She replies, thanks for the advice, well put. I'm going to try and forget about the contract for a while and see what happens. You're right, the way the package is structured basically makes us the salesman. It doesn't feel great, but it's what I've gotten myself into. Luckily, I reflected enough before saying anything stupid to a guest that I'd regret later. I'm going to just enjoy our company and be grateful for anyone who could make it. Yeah, honestly, I could have just read that last comment and left it at that, because that's all that needs to be said, I think. Opie updates, 3 years later. A few years have gone by, and today I remembered how much negative attention it had gotten. I'm writing an update coming up on our 2-year anniversary about our experience, and to maybe deter anyone from declining a destination wedding or resort contract based on my original post or the comments in the original thread, if that's what you want to do. I didn't cover reasoning for doing a destination wedding in the original post. Our guests were spread all over, and some in other countries. It did not make sense to have them come to where we live, since it's mostly nothing, frigid, and expensive to travel here. Why not spend that time and money somewhere memorable? Saying no to attending a destination wedding is easy, no harm, no foul. Another reason we chose a destination wedding was to spend more time with relatives who we don't see often, instead of the couple of hours. Everything went better than expected. 100 people came, so my worries about a contracted guest minimum was misplaced. I was afraid of renegotiating a contract after guests booked, since the contract had nullification clauses. I realized after the original post that the resort wants you to be a pseudo-salesman. Some comments didn't consider how these resorts operate, but many were correct about the salesy contract I got myself into. We didn't ask our timeshare guests to change anything, and we've remained close friends. The contract was our only wedding planning stress point. It's understandable if you don't want to deal with it, but if you're reading this and going through that phase now, just relax. Careful what you sign, but also the resort isn't going to play hardball with someone bringing them business. We were able to meet all thresholds, not that we cared, and spent them on upgrading all family and wedding party to beachfront swim-out rooms, and gave a percentage of the final room cost for all guests. The trip created lasting memories, and we're grateful for everyone who came. The event itself got rained out, but the staff was incredible and moved us to an indoor venue. The day prior, we had toured with the coordinator and planned the setup outdoor, for all of that to be thrown out the window an hour beforehand. Even though we hadn't even seen the indoor venue or setup, it really didn't matter. The staff went above and beyond, and we couldn't thank them enough. We're blessed our guests travelled from all over the world to celebrate with us. I wanted to write this update because maybe someone searches Reddit and stumbles upon both threads. I couldn't find much information online about this topic. Yes, the contract is a negative to consider, but if you're in a position like us where people would be travelling quite some distance anyway, and you want everyone to have a memorable tropical experience, don't look back. Reddit might have your ass in the comments section, but zealous words on a website won't change real-life events involving people who have no affiliation with them. One comment says, "Oh my god, I wanted a destination wedding because I didn't want anyone to come. You had 100 people come, and you met thresholds? You were able to upgrade because all these people canned, so basically your wedding was paid for by other people? OMG." Opie says, Of course, we wanted people to come, but several comments in the original post complained about going to destination weddings. Then just say no to the invite. It's not a big deal. The wedding was a flat rate, the room block contract was separate, and the wholesaler of the block provided a higher discount to guests the more rooms booked. Clever way to get you to become a salesman, unfortunately. We didn't hand people money after the hotel handed us money, it's automatic. And then they simply asked us who to upgrade leading up to the wedding. I'm confused. In your original post, you said that if you didn't get the minimum threshold, you would lose the rehearsal and ceremony. What was that about? She replies, when the travel agent explained the package to us initially, I conflated the minimums between the room block contract and the wedding contract. The wedding contract for private rehearsal, reception and ceremony would be lost if there was not enough wedding guests, not block guests. I had that incorrect in the original post and clarified at a later date. Events would have instead been sectioned off in a restaurant or other public use area. Our guess was to utilise restaurant or bar staff instead of overstaffing a wedding. Even if it was a block guest minimum, we would have been fine. My initial reaction was rash. Opie responds to a downvoted commenter saying she's hung up on this. Hung up on this? I forgot about it until yesterday. We strictly did no gifts and made it clear that if coming would be a burden to decline. Just about everyone would have to pay for those things to come if it was local anyway. I'd bet my life savings the flight and drive after to where we live is double a flight to the destination we picked. I just read the original post. Holy hell, the gumption to even think about asking people who already have a timeshare at that resort to pay outside of that. I live part-time in a desirable vacation location that is popular for weddings. It would be like if someone invited me to their wedding but said I had to pay to stay at the wedding hotel instead of my own paid-for house, and forbade me from letting others stay here with me. Glad it all worked out, and that OP did not in fact tell timeshare owners they couldn't use their timeshares because sheesh. Yeah, I certainly earned my well-deserved share of flack for that post. I think getting a consensus on a general idea by posting it on the internet and the actual actions and solutions that occurred got a little misconstrued, but it's my fault for ever considering something along those lines. In the end, the only solution I decided I could deploy, if something truly had to happen, was to ask them to save their timeshare, let me know how much they saved, and that we would cover the difference to get them under our block. I was only going to consider that if the resort gave us no other option, and after plenty of arguing with the resort, but that didn't happen. We had a few more of the more adventurous guests stay off the resort in the end anyway. The scary words in the contract never mattered. Alrighty guys, we're going to leave that there. Honestly, in hindsight, it seems crazy that all the comments really wanted to villainize OP here, but I don't really think she did anything that bad. Yeah, she initially made a rash judgment, but she owned up to it and recognized her mistakes pretty much immediately after the fact. It's like they really, really wanted her to be the bad person in this situation, but honestly, I don't think anyone is here. What about you guys? Let me know your thoughts down below. Anyway, we're going to leave that story there and move on to another one. Alright, well, keeping with the wedding theme, this one was posted on Bridezilla's. It was written by user Schmeg the Egg, and it's titled, I, maid of honor, just found out the bride talked crap behind my back the entire wedding day, but still had me plan and pay for everything. I was asked to be maid of honor by a friend of mine who I've had a rocky past with. She doesn't really have anyone close in her life that lasts longer than a few years. And she also changes jobs every few months because she has high conflict and causes drama constantly. She thrives off of it. In hindsight, I should have said no, especially knowing this was her and the groom's third engagement so off and on. But I agreed and took everything so seriously. Bridezilla was an understatement. She changed the members of the bridal party 5 times, so I constantly had to track down new people. Her bridal shower had to be at this one very specific country club that was expensive. She changed the date of the actual wedding and forgot to tell me for months, and it was on a Friday, so I had to request off work. Nothing I bought was good enough, and she always requested more. She changed my dress colour after I bought it. She also just stopped talking to me unless it was about the wedding, and had no idea what was going on in my personal life. I paid for just about everything because the people she kept inviting in the bridal party were younger than us, early 20s. I'm 27, the bride is 33, and have no stable income. I have a good job and I'm smart with my money, but even for me it was really difficult. I'm talking about $6,000 on this damn wedding as maid of honor, and I'm trying to plan my own soon too. Well, the day of the wedding comes. I make sure she has a bunch of custom gifts, a day of bag, my speech was beautiful, etc. But she was so rude to me the entire day. She has a new BFF she met about 4 months before the wedding, and they're attached at the hip, and all she wanted to do was talk to her. But whatever, I was super busy handling everything, so I tried to ignore it. The wedding comes and goes. She leaves to go to the after party with her new BFF, and I stay behind to clean up the entire venue with the help of my boyfriend after, and we go home. Well, I get a call today from her cousin who was also in the wedding party, who I really bonded with over this awful experience. She told me that she didn't want to say anything to me, but she thinks I deserve to know because I'm already buying Christmas gifts for bride and her kids. Her cousin tells me that every time I left the bridal suite the day of the wedding, the bride would announce to everyone in the room that she couldn't stand me. I wish she weren't even here. I'm so effing annoying. She also has a separate group chat with her sisters and cousins and continues to talk crap on me there. Mind you, she just sent me a Christmas list for her kids last week. Everything is already bought and wrapped. I feel so hurt and so used and honestly really stupid. I just blocked her on everything. I don't want to even message her because I know she'll somehow twist it around and make it my fault. Yeah, honestly, you could see it coming from a mile off. Opie edits. I'm seeing a lot of comments saying this is on me for missing and ignoring red flags, and I 100% agree. I should have gone more into the backstory, but it's super complicated and long, so I left it out. I used to be the stepmother of her oldest son, so her ex is also my ex, and he's a huge POS, but that's a story for another day, and I'm extremely bonded to the kid. I was in his life from 9 months old, and she's allowed me to still be involved in his life for the past 4+ years, even after I left the relationship. He's 7 now. So a huge part of me feels this immense, incredible debt to her, and I will always appreciate her keeping me in her son's life. She didn't have to do that. But as my friend, kids aside, she is incredibly selfish and toxic, and I should have made better boundaries and kept my guard up. But wow, that's easier said than done when kids are involved. Edit 2. I also meant that I spent $6,000 on the bridal shower / bachelorette / gifts, etc. I did not pay for the actual wedding venue itself, but $6,000 of my own money still for wedding-related things. In Edit 3, I appreciate everyone's advice. I was more or less venting on this post. I know I'm not blameless in this and definitely let it drag on too long, because I was and am scared that once I upset Bridezilla, I lose access to being a part of her children's lives. However, I agree that it's not healthy for me to continue to be in contact with her, and her children are better off not seeing me being used as a doormat by their mother. I blocked her number and do not plan on interacting with her ever again. Time to just move on and focus on my own healing for once. And in the comments, return everything and flush that horrible woman out of your life ASAP. I would let her know that the Christmas gifts won't be coming and why. I think just to be petty, send her an invoice for the money you wasted on her. Here's the thing with the kid. He's growing up hearing his mum talk bad about OP. There's the risk of him growing up thinking that it's okay to treat people like that. If he sees OP walk away, it will show him that he doesn't have to tolerate being like that, and that others won't tolerate him acting that way. He might lose out on OP being in his life and being a good influence, but I don't think that his mum would really allow that anyway. I think she's going to drop OP as soon as she stops giving. This is a good opportunity to reflect on why you tolerated this abuse for so long. You sound like an extremely nice person. You deserve better. Going forward, if someone treats you badly like this, hopefully you'll feel comfortable leaving earlier. This may turn out to be a beneficial life lesson. We've all had bad experiences that we can later reflect on and help us grow. Obviously, don't give her the gifts. It's tempting to be petty, but that's not who you are. This person is missing out on a good friend in you. They will continue to have these short-lived, high-drama relationships. And congratulations on your engagement. OP updates. Hi everyone. This post definitely blew up more than I was expecting, so I wanted to give a quick update. After this happened, a few things that some of you said to me really stuck with me. I was looking at all of this from the perspective of not wanting to lose access to the children of the bride who I love deeply, but I was not realizing that by allowing their mother to treat me poorly, that I was modeling for the kids how to treat their own loved ones. That really was a light bulb moment for me, and I realized I needed to cut ties. I initially told her that I needed space from her because of the way she's treated me as a friend, which she did not take well, and I had to block her number and delete her off social media to stop her from berating me with texts. Once I did that, it was insane how much better I felt. I truly didn't realize how much time and energy she took out of me every single day. I felt like a literal weight was lifted from my chest, and I wasn't filled with anxiety about whatever drama she'd constantly call and text me about. I had no idea how much she had slowly taken from me across the course of our friendship. It was like being free of an emotional vampire. However, despite feeling so much better, I still felt that I needed closure regarding the kids, who I do love and miss. I needed to know in my heart that I did everything I could for them, to know none of this is their fault. I decided to drop off the presents I already bought at their front doorstep and left a note letting her know that I was informed she spoke poorly about me in front of her children during her wedding day, and that I simply cannot accept that disrespect anymore. It was very short and sweet, and I didn't go into much more detail than that. I also told her I had no interest in reigniting any type of friendship, that this was my closure, and I do not want her to contact me further. Apparently, she immediately took to social media and began making dozens of posts and TikTok videos denying everything, as well as involving the kids in the videos. So sad. Trash-talking me and calling me a narcissist, which is laughable, honestly, and it's her go-to insult for anyone who wrongs her. I had friends send me a few in disbelief, and while I appreciate being informed, I asked them to not send me anymore because I don't really care, and I don't want to give her the satisfaction of knowing I saw any of them. Honestly, I just feel so bad for the kids, and I feel nothing but pity for their mother. How sad to be 33 years old and instead of spending time on Christmas morning with your children, you're making TikTok videos to try to upset me, and failing at it at that. Anyway, that's my update. I'm glad to finally put all of this behind me. I really feel like I've closed a chapter of such a chaotic and drama-filled portion of my life. If any of you are dealing with a person like this in your lives, get out. Life is so much better without them in it to drag you down, I promise you. One comment says, "When I blocked my narcissist friend, it was amazing how free I felt. Like, I can go get coffee just by myself without having to invite her. I don't have her always coming to my house interrupting date night with my husband. I can hang out with other friends without her guilting me. I wish it turned out differently, but people are going to make choices. You can't choose for them, and life is too short to spend it around people who drain you." Opie replies, "Oh my god, this. I don't have to pretend I go to bed at 7 PM so she won't call me 20 times and interrupt my evening. I don't have her whining, why wasn't I invited to a friend's birthday party who she's never even met? I'm so glad that you got rid of the negative friend in your life too. No one should cause stress like that." Good for you. Hard and expensive lesson to learn, but you did it. I just hope her kids have a good support system. How's their dad with them? Opie says, 2 separate dads. The oldest dad is basically not involved, he's awful. The youngest dad is pretty decent dad and stepdad, but he and my ex-friend have a super toxic dynamic that isn't healthy for the kids to be around. To be honest, I doubt this marriage will last. It's her third. Wow, yeah, I'm glad Opie's out of there, but man, she stayed a lot longer than I would have. What about you guys? Let me know down in the comments. Anyway, that's the end of that story, and we'll move on once again. Alrighty, this next one's a bit different. It was written by user Key Reporter, and it's titled, "Have a weird feeling about an upcoming trip. Advice needed." I, 30 female, am supposed to take a 4-day cross-country trip with a friend, 35 female, next week. Yesterday, I went to book the rental car and had this insane feeling of dread come over me about the trip that I just cannot shake. I'm not a spiritual person, but there's something telling me to cancel the trip. I haven't spoken to the friend about it yet, but this is so out of character for me. I'm not an anxious or paranoid person usually, but there's just something telling me not to go, and I'm going to listen. How do I do this nicely? Because this is out of character, I feel like I can't say I'm having a premonition. Luckily, a lot of crap is going on at work which she knows about, so we'll probably blame that and offer to pay for her flight and hotel so she won't lose any money. Any other advice? I'm sure she'll be upset, but I can't explain it. I just absolutely cannot go. Hey, if the universe is telling you something, I say listen to it. Let's go to the comments. I'm not a spiritual person either. In fact, I'm quite the opposite. But if you have this strong of a feeling, then don't ignore it. Whether that means looking into if there's other reasons you just don't want to go that is causing this, or bringing it up to your friend. If this were me, I would probably bring it up to the friend. Something along the lines of seeing how they're feeling about the trip. What if they had a weird feeling too and are just ignoring it? If you're absolutely dead set on not going, then be direct with your friends so they can sort their end out. Opie says, honestly they might. Usually we're obsessive planners, but we really have not been for this trip. She might also have some hesitation. Not saying you can't or shouldn't cancel, but just to offer my own perspective. I have an anxiety disorder, and I've never once boarded a plane without assuming it will crash, or booked a hotel or rental car without feeling like it was a big mistake. Last month, I messaged my friend about a trip we'd already planned to take to confirm the dates, and as soon as I texted her, I felt like I was going to puke because I was so anxious about it. I went anyway. It was great, and we're planning to do it again next year. Sometimes anxiety is just anxiety and not a premonition. Opie replies, totally valid. It's not so much I think we're going to die or something. I felt anxiety before, although I don't have chronic anxiety, and this is feeling different. For me, anxiety is a wired feeling of, should I? And this is a calm, no. But these are important questions to ask myself, so I appreciate this. Opie updates 2.5 months later. The friend I was supposed to go with was understanding, and we decided to really just push it off to a later date. We worked together at a hospital, so we both went to work and saved the time off. Well, on the day we were supposed to leave, at the time we would have been in the air no less, she had a brain aneurysm and collapsed while at work. She thankfully survived, and now, 3 months later, has made basically a full recovery. If we went on that trip, there is no way she would have survived. I genuinely believe she only survived because we were at work already in a hospital where she was able to get immediate care. I even think about what would have happened if we decided to do a staycation rather than cancel the paid time off, feeling very fortunate for the decisions made. I don't think I have superpowers or anything, but trust your gut. Wow, one comment says, this is just so peculiar. You and a good friend were going on a fun trip. You went to book things, got a feeling of dread, cancelled the trip, and then the day you were supposed to leave, your friend had a brain aneurysm while on shift at the hospital. I've always heard trust your gut, but it's more along, this guy gives me a weird vibe. I've never heard of trusting your gut when it comes to premonitions about vacation disasters, and then having a disaster happen that was avoided by not going on that trip. How do you feel about all of this? I think I would feel really conflicted if I was in the same situation. If I'm trying something new or going somewhere new, I can often have a bad feeling, but it's mostly because it's something new and strange and different, and my mind doesn't care for those things. I push past it and have a great time. There was nothing to worry about. My brain was just afraid of the new situation. If this happened to me, I'd feel like I'd start having choice paralysis, lol. Opie replies, yep, totally get this. So a couple of things. 1. This feeling I had was not the same sort of feeling I get when I'm nervous or have a bad feeling or a weird vibe, etc. It was extremely strong, extremely uncomfortable. It really was a completely different foreboding feeling, something I've never really felt before. I'm a very analytical person. I'm very in touch with my emotions, so even the fact that I could not identify why I felt that way was also very unusual for me. To be honest, I kind of thought maybe I was having a mental breakdown, lol, which I would not want to happen on vacation either. 2. I grew up in a very superstitious religious community that just did not really speak to me growing up, and I think because of that I'm very much the opposite. I don't look for signs, wear the same clothes if my team wins, truly any of that, and I think if I were, this experience would make me never leave the house if I had the slightest hesitation, but I really felt it was a bit of a fluke. And 3. So many things had to go exactly as it did, even things I had no input on, i.e., what if her bus was late? What if she changed her mind and decided to call out? What if the person who was supposed to cover her shift really wanted the hours and didn't want to give the shift back? This for me takes the loci of control away from me. I don't think I'm solely responsible for saving her life. Finally, I'm content for this to just be a crazy story without refocusing my life thinking I have superpowers. Opie explains her thoughts for everyone else who might be in the same shoes or trusting your gut and not ignoring it. I'm so sorry, I wouldn't describe my feeling as anxiety though. It was a very intense foreboding. Do I think I can tell the future? No, not really. I think I got really lucky. While I do think you should trust your gut, I don't think acting on anxiety is the same thing. I also think you shouldn't do things you don't want to. Vacations are supposed to be fun, and if there's a specific reason you're feeling anxious, definitely explore that too. Hope that helps. One comment says, "This is incredible to hear. I have heard anecdotally of things like this happening, and the moral is always, trust your instincts. So happy your friend is doing well, and now you get to go on a trip together in the future." Holy crap, my jaw just hit the floor. Trust your gut, ladies. Another comment says, "Stuff like this always gives me goosebumps. My dad passed yesterday. He was living in memory care, current place for the last 13 or so months. One of the caregivers, who was fantastic, was with him when he passed. She was great to us when we got there. After her shift, she went to a thrift store she never really goes to, found a picture that my dad had hanging in his room. The picture was from a special car club that my dad started in our city like 25 years ago. Like probably less than 50 people have this picture. She saw it and knew she had to buy it. Today she was telling us the story, and we'd just given the picture in my dad's room to another one of the caregivers that my dad always talked about cars with. Weird things just happen, and it always makes you just think." Yeah, for sure, and I love those sort of stories. If you guys got any stories like that, let me know in the comments. I do read them all. Anyway, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.